There are some lawyers who, we were bringing you on this point, believe that maybe the court could have given an adjournment date and not an indefinite adjournment as we saw there. Your quick thoughts on this?
Yeah.
Could that have been done? Could that be a consideration?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There are times that when the court wants to be very swift, it will be swift. You remember the pink sheet case when we're going into the 2012 elections?
Yeah.
Yes, pink sheet case. The issues were settled. When we say issues, the questions that the parties were required to put before the court, they were settled on that same day. Even the Supreme Court had to give part of their meeting rooms, right, the chambers, to the lawyers and the parties to go in there and to settle the issues. Yeah, I remember Kofi Bentil and Lawyer Shen and all the people who were involved in that case. No, that case is a case that I think we haven't celebrated enough. We really need to celebrate it, the way the Supreme Court went into the law and said all the parties were entitled to the pink sheet. Because, you know, because there was that failure to include it, there was the fear that, you know, it could serve as a source for rigging, right? Yeah, so in this case, there is no doubt that if the Supreme Court wanted to fix a definite date for the next year, it could have done so, right? But, you know, the plain truth is that the dynamics of each case is different. You know, this is a case that, look, potentially could cause us a lot of backlash from the international community, etc. And the court is not oblivious to that fact, right? So you need to give the Supreme Court some time to be able to reflect on this matter well, so that when they come out, it really will be the final decision. We don't need a hasty decision that will not solve any problem, right? Yes, it's very, very important. I mean, let's be very plain. You see, this country, the thing is that if we don't learn to speak the truth and we want to be very smart politically and all that, we will not go far. The plain truth is that this case could bring us a lot of headache if the Supreme Court were to say that, oh, the bill has been properly passed, so it should be presented to the president for assent. It's going to bring us a lot of flack, so they need time.
But with what happened...
I don't understand.
Seriously, I don't understand.
I've stated it, and I'll restate. I'm saying that... let me repeat. I'm saying that this case, if the Supreme Court were to decide that the gay bill has been properly passed, so President Kufuor should go ahead and sign it, it will bring us a lot of flack. And even using the word flag criticism is not enough. You remember even the letter that the Minister of Finance wrote. Of course, later we saw that they had overshot what they were supposed to write. They said even the IMF and World Bank would take back loans. It's not exactly so, but we will suffer quite a bit. So give the Supreme Court some time to reflect properly and come out with a decision. Look, do you want, you know, this things, you know, the Supreme Court is a policy-making court. They also make policy.
Okay.
They make policy. So it's not just, it's white, it's red. No. There is policy. But they don't run away from it. And so...
Adam Sanam is going to be joining us. No. I'm not done with Lawyer Matipebu.
Yeah, so we are just stating the plain truth. The Supreme Court is a policy-making court. So you can take a case there, and lawyers know it. Look, it can be very clear to you. Lawyers at the bar will be very clear in their minds that this is the answer. The court can look at it and they will find reasons not to hear the case. I mean, we've been going there for decades now, so we know it. It's a policy-making court. So if they think this one, they won't deal with it. They won't deal with it. Right. There are 1,001 ways that they can look at it and say, look, we will not deal with this case. And there isn't much that you can do. We are evolving.
But there are implications for the indefinite adjournment on what Parliament will be doing and what the President is also supposed to be doing. The President is supposed to be signing a bill into law. He's saying that it is with Parliament, it is with the it's in the courts, and so he's suspending it. And
Parliament is
also saying that if you don't do this, I'm not going to do that. And you have adjourned indefinitely. So it means
So in fact,
certain roles that are supposed to be performed by Parliament and also the executive arm of government are supposed to be also be suspended indefinitely.
Alfred.
And so I'm a bit worried. I'm a bit worried about the indefinite
I'll
bit.
come to all of you.
Yes.
What I want to find out from counsel is
Yes.
how this indefinite adjournment impacts on the future of this case.
Oh,
As in how this case is going to flow, the path going forward. Really?
Yes, so what it is, look, the other fact that's undeniable is that if this decision, if the bill is not signed, for now, let's still call it bill because under the Constitution,
It's a bill.
It's a bill.
Yes, once the president has not signed, it's still
It's
not
not
law.
an act of Parliament.
Yes, okay. Yes. Look, if the president doesn't sign before December and Parliament rises, that's the end of it.
Yes.
So it
Not
means that
before December, before 6 January 2025.
So this
6th
bill will
January, yeah,
die
sorry,
with the
before
life
6
of this
January
age
2025.
Yes, thank you.
So
Yes, 6th
technical
January.
knockout
So
or
it
technical
means that looking at it, look, the timelines, they are very tight. They are very tight because 6th January 2025 is very close. That's barely about 7 months, right? And if you look at what goes into doing or coming out with a decision in such a case, I have my doubts that we should be able to complete this course. 7 months is a bit
So you're
tight.
saying that this
a bit
case
tight.
will not be concluded within the 7 months period?
It's likely
So it will-
because
it
we
will
are
die.
going on a legal vacation. For us, 31st of July is the end of the legal vacation, is the end of the legal year. So August, September, and effectively 2 weeks in October is part of our legal break. Then after we come. Don't forget, even Demlevo, that was, Demlevo is our chief anti-corruption campaigner. When the, people called on Supreme Court to sit during the legal vacation and deal with the Demlevo case so that we all knew that Demlevo should return to office, the Supreme Court didn't accede to that request. And that one, we're fighting corruption. Demlevo had caught President Kufuor and his people, Osafo Maafo and Co. in this Kroll and Associates case. And he was just about to nail them. Then they thought that, no, let's send him out of office. They did. The whole nation, everybody was on the Supreme Court. Please call this case. I remember Professor Kuku Asare, he was on them. He even had, more or less, running this argument with them. But they didn't yield. So going by the past, I really, unless this case turns out to be like the pink sheet case, the Asian versus Attorney General, then the Supreme Court can do it quickly. But as I said, because of the ramifications for us, the future of this nation generally, I think we should maybe hasten slowly, give the Supreme Court some space, let them deliberate well, so that when the decision comes out, it will be well accepted. Because right now it appears we are just railroading them into saying that, they should say the bill was properly passed and so the president should pass it. Let's hasten slowly. What is it that is happening now that is so urgent that they must finish? Currently, under our law, the Criminal Offences Act, if we find somebody in gay, sex, etc., the person will be prosecuted. There is stiff punishment for the person, right? And there are other things. And generally, as a society, we don't support gay activities, right? So you see the pastors are out there preaching that no, this society culturally we don't support gay activities, etc. So that in itself too is keeping the gay community in check, that we don't support them coming out openly and showing affection. So to the extent that we have our own societal ways of keeping them in check, I think we should continue to use that whilst we give the Supreme Court the space and the time to be able to deliberate on this matter well, so that when they come out, it will be once and for all. You don't want a decision that will come and it will even create more questions than answers.
But as it things stand now, if nothing is done to, for instance, set up a more of a special court for this, and this case has to flow in the normal course of time, you are saying that all things being equal, it cannot be completed within this 7-month period. and then this 8th Parliament is going to die out on the dawn of January 6th into January 7th, and this bill will die with the life of this Parliament, and we'll have to start the entire process again if the 9th Parliament is minded to do so. That's what's going to happen.
Yes, it looks like.
Alfred.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Kofi Adams,
Alfred,
on this.
I clearly disagree with the opinion of our
and let me say this.
council
Adam Sanano is the lead for Advocates for Christ, one of the supporters of this bill. He'll join us.
On the issue of Supreme Court needing so much time to determine this matter. This is a straightforward matter. That is one. Two, the Supreme Court, yes, may look like a policy policy making kind of, but it is not the biggest platform. The biggest platform is Parliament, where every single Ghanaian is represented. Before you get into Parliament, you should have won a constituency. The president doesn't even represent every Ghanaian, because the president doesn't win every constituency. The president may become president by just securing 50% plus one, may not win a number of constituencies. The president didn't win any constituency in my region, the Oti region, but he is president. But for all the members of parliament from Oti region, they have to win the constituency. So every single member, including the one yet to be sworn in from Judicial, have all won their elections. So that is where true Ghanaian representation is. They have taken a decision, factoring all the issues that lawyer Martin Kpebu is talking about, what the finance ministry is talking about. Indeed, the current finance minister himself is a member of parliament. So he was part of the decision-making process. The two deputy finance ministers currently, including the one that has been elevated to Minister of State nominee that they've gone through vetting, yet to be approved, are all members of what? Parliament. So they've all have been part of this process, and we've all agreed to it. The Supreme Court cannot be a review platform on anything related to such matters as policy, the effect, positive or negative, of this law. The president is not saying he is not signing because of all these so-called negative things that people want us to believe. The president is saying the bill process is being challenged and is in the Supreme Court. What is the challenge? That I hear one of them was that quorum was not formed. Supreme Court have determined matters of quorum as far as Parliament is concerned. What do you rely on? You rely on votes and proceedings as corrected the next day after a sitting. You can also go into the answers if the official reports will give you all the details to do with what? Quorum. In Parliament, if no member rises on his feet to raise the matter of quorum, the assumption is that quorum is formed, and you can only depend on the votes and proceedings of that particular sitting to indicate whether the numbers were or were not. And in the past, when Supreme Court have to deal with whether a budget was properly rejected or the e-levy was properly passed or not passed and so on and so forth, this is the sources they have relied on. Two, we cannot leave the matter of whether it is policy, whether it is rightful or not, to 3 or 5 or 7 or 9 Supreme Court justices. I think in this case they have empaneled 5 or so of them to be the ones to determine something that generally all Ghanaians through their representative have passed. Look, when I hear people say that the law existing deals with this matter satisfactorily, it is not true. The law existing doesn't stop anyone from coming to buy airtime from TV3 and to promote such activities and fight for more space for such persons. When you do so, you will not be penalized. There is no law that will stop you from doing such things. The current bill as it is supposed to cover all such areas. Don't forget, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, when he was interviewed on Al Jazeera, indicated clearly that growing up in UK as a young person, the freedoms the person interviewing him was asking about LGBTQ rights and what have you did not exist as they existed now, and indicated that, well, if the appropriate pressure was brought to bear on government, then it is bound to happen. Meaning, what is happening in UK today is bound to happen in Ghana if appropriate pressure was brought to bear. That was what alarmed these members of parliament who decided to come through the private members' motion, because once the president have spoken, and I've observed this on many occasions, that immediately the president desires something, all his appointees, including those who are supposed to be independent and constitutionally protected, begin to behave in a certain line. The president says that I will put my presidency online to fight Galamsey, because he has said so. Those who must admit the impact and the effect of Galamsey today are denying that Galamsey is happening roughly and destroying our water bodies. Okay. Because if you say so, it means the president's statement will now be questioned. I strongly think that the Supreme Court doesn't need any much time beyond a month or two maximum to deal with this matter, and I do.
Was talking about the quality of the decision.
But I'm saying that the time will not be a factor in terms of determining, because we've gone through all the processes. The bill was read the first time. It was referred to the committee. The committee engaged in all manner of meetings, including those who were opposed to the passage of this bill into law. It went through the second reading. It went through the third reading. These are the processes enshrined in the Constitution and the standing orders as to how a bill will go through to become law. The stage we find ourselves is for the president to sign and then make it a law. So all processes have been gone through. We did not ignore any process, including hearing promoters of LGBTQ+. They were heard. They were given audience. At a point, even the chairman of the Constitutional and Legal Committee was being accused as being too lenient in favor of the promoters. But all this happened. And so, which process are we questioning now? That they should now hear, the Supreme Court should now be the platform to hear all these persons? No. I don't think the Supreme Court need any time beyond the filing of the papers for them to read through and make a determination. Then we can move forward.
I see. Thank you very much. Mr. Kofi Adams, let me welcome Adam Senan, who is the lead, one of the leaders for the Advocates for Christ, one of the supporters of this anti-LGBTQ+ bill. Zano, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
He's wearing two hats this morning. He's also the co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption. So when we have that conversation that relates to the corruption, we would have him as well on this. But Palgrave, one of the sponsors of the bill, Nelson Roxon, MP for South Dye, says to me that sexual orientation on LGBTQ is already criminalized. You cannot criminalize anybody's sexual orientation, as some have been saying. This is already done. The anti-LGBTQ+ bill does not seek to criminalize LGBTQ, but just to extend the effect of the existing law to affect publication, advocacy, and promotion. It says good morning to Kofi Adams on this point. Thank you. Palgrave,
yes,
this is what happened in the Supreme Court.
Alfred, I think that for once I would want to share in light of the thoughts of lawyer Martin Pigbu, in terms of the fact that the Supreme Court will need a lot more ample time to make a decision on the proper human sexual rights and Ghanaian family values bill 2021. I mean, I've heard that
The name has changed. So
it's
you must be using
changed.
the wrong document.
It's changed to
Please.
anti-LGBT.
No. It's Human Sexual Rights and Family Values.
Yes.
2024.
Okay, it's
the
fine. It's
document
okay.
you're referring to is an old document. You
It's
cannot make a proper submission.
No. You can't say that.
I'm sorry.
No, you can't say I can't make a proper submission.
Because that's part of the problem we've been facing.
No.
People
hold
going
on.
back
Senator,
and using the wrong
Senator,
document.
Hold on.
Please get the right document.
Hold on. You hold
I
on.
can provide it to you.
You can, not a problem. But hold on, okay? It won't change the submission I'm going to
It
make.
probably will.
No, it won't change the submission. I'm
listening
going
to you.
Unless, of course, you don't want me to make a submission.
No, you will. But I
It
think
won't
that
change the
it's
They
submission.
refer to the right
You
document.
have
That is
to have the
fine.
right
No, it's
document.
fine.
Because even the long
Coming here with a
title, you are
printed
getting the
wrong
long
document.
title.
It's okay.
It's a dangerous thing.
No, it's okay. It's
Thank you.
fine.
I think it's good that you underscore
It's
that
fine.
that document is the old
He's
one.
flipping
No,
through
it's
it.
okay.
It's old one.
It's
so
okay.
let's move on.
It's okay.
Don't refer to the old document.
No, hold on.
Yeah, and
The
you-
values of you see, is the name I mentioned.
Okay.
The name is what?
has been
Sexual Human Rights Ghanaian Value Bill.
No.
What's the name of the bill? Tell me the name of the bill.
Human Sexual Rights and Family Values
Values Act.
Bill.
It's fine.
2024. if
It's
you like.
okay.
But,
So,
yeah.
sexual human rights and
No,
family
human
sexual rights.
human sexual rights
and family
family
values.
values.
Yeah.
It's fine. But Alfred stays here and he mentions anti-LGBT bill.
No, it's a pro-family
That one-
values.
Good.
That's why it's an alias.
No, so yes.
It's
So,
an alias
but
of
then
the
yes.
property. So if you want to do the property, read the
Of course,
property.
it's fine. So
You can use the alias.
yes. So minimize your heckling and allow me to.
No.
Allow me
Hold
to.
on, gentlemen.
Yes, allow me to state my point.
Pargri.
Allow me to state my point.
Relax. You making reference to what I reference as anti-LGBTQ plus bill is not wrong. That's number one. Two, it is also materially important that if you are having a document that is not the current state of this bill, it has to be pointed out. I think it will even help you because
No,
if
I
you
don't
have
rule
not been-
that out.
If
No,
you-
I don't
if
rule
you-
that
if
out.
they
It's
hadn't
fine.
pointed out to you, you were going to go on and on about the details of this one.
I was
which
not
is the
going to.
old
I was
document.
only making a reference to a statement.
that's fine.
I was
All
only making a reference to a statement. It's fine. It's not a problem if the document I have has been amended.
Okay,
I mean, it's
right.
not a problem.
Let's move
You
on.
understand?
Let's
Yes.
move
I
on.
mean, I can always get the amended version of the document. So let's not heckle me. The name has not changed to LGBTQIAAP plus.
Let's move on.
That hasn't. Of course, I'm moving on. Yes. So to be able to state, for me, I think that the Supreme Court should be given the ample time to be able to come to the proper decision on where we are going with this issue. And I think that no one should give excessive pressure to the Supreme Court in wanting to exercise their judiciary rights that they have in the country. I think that we should allow them to be able to do that. Once they do that and they bring it back to Parliament and Parliament brings it to the presidency, I think that the president will do what is mandated legally and constitutionally for him to be able to do.
See, thank you on this. Professor Prof Gyampo, and before I come to you, Ms. Anu, and how things played out in court. I mean, it's initial stages, though.
Well, I'm sad that
Why?
the Supreme Court has adjourned this matter indefinitely. But to be fair, adjourning a matter indefinitely could mean that the matter can be called tomorrow. But the whole idea of indefinite adjournment also could be interpreted to mean adjournment of the case in perpetuity. And given the way people have expressed their interest in and the bill being passed into law, if they hear adjournment, indefinite adjournment, it has a certain negative connotations in their minds that look, the matter has been adjourned in perpetuity. It may not be so. Now, to the extent that the president's decision to sign the bill or not to bill was contingent on what the Supreme Court was going to say, I believe that an indefinite adjournment unnecessarily would frustrate any attempt at passing the bill into law that reflects the hopes and sovereign will of the people of Ghana, who are the owners of the powers that are exercised in the state by the arms of government, including the judicial arm of government. You see, if you look at how we've come as a nation and the support that Ghanaians have given to the bill, see, any attempt at saying that, look, we are adjourning indefinitely, would be seen as frustrating the implementation of the law that reflects or that typifies the general will, hopes, and aspirations of the good people of Ghana. And I think that if you do that, then people would begin to raise eyebrows. And so, clearly, if you look at the posturing of the president from day one, he clearly didn't want to respect the general will of the people. I mean, my view, that's what I can say. He clearly didn't want to respect the general will of the people. And I would urge the Supreme Court not to use procedural and legal technicalities to also stampede the realization of the general will of the people of Ghana. An indefinite adjournment of this matter must not be taken to mean adjournment in perpetuity, because the good people of Ghana would want their hopes and aspirations respected by all. And as Kofi Adams said, if you want to locate sovereignty and who is who in terms of the power balance between the arms of government, I would place it at the doorstep of the legislative arm of government, because it is within Parliament that we have all Ghanaians being represented. It is not all Ghanaians who voted for President Akufo-Addo. You need just 50% of Ghanaians plus just one to become the president of Ghana. And when it comes to the judicial arm of government, it is purely by appointment. Okay, so it is within the legislature that we can locate sovereignty and power, the power, of the land and then the power of the people. And so if the people, through their legislators, have said this is the route that they want to go, I think that the least we can do is to respect the expressions of the hopes and aspirations of the people. We must respect it and give meaning to whatever they have expressed. Any attempt at using executive power, any attempt at using procedural and legal technicalities to frustrate the realization of the general will of the people as expressed in this bill, I think would be unfortunate, and I know the good people of Ghana may not want to countenance that. And so I would respectfully urge the Supreme Court to take note of the fact that Ghanaians are watching, and that an indefinite adjournment should not be taken to mean adjournment in perpetuity.
Thank you very much. And Adam Senado, on this one, because you are an interested party, in how this case plays out. Obviously, we are all watching this, but then again, having been involved in engagements, consultations up until this point, and what happened at the Supreme Court at the first of a long journey, according to Lawyer Martin Kpebu, if things proceed without any clear intervention, this case may not be completed before this Parliament that started the work on this bill dies out. Does that concern you?
Well, yes. Usually Martin and I agree on several scores. On this score, we don't agree at all. Article 1.1, the sovereignty of Ghana resides in the people of Ghana, in whose name and for whose welfare the powers of government are to be exercised in the manner and within the limits laid down in this Constitution. Clearly, therefore, the three arms of government exist to promote the interests of Ghanaians. And it is known that good law emanates from the aspirations the wishes and the will of the people. To the extent that the majority of the people believe in something, that is good law. That's known. I don't think that it will augur well, considering Parliament's work and what the President has said, if the judiciary does not look at this as one of those cases that they ought to deal with quickly. In any case, for those of us who have been working on this and advocating, we've also put in place some timelines. I was delighted because we called an emergency meeting earlier this week, and then the next day was when we were told this was coming on. But we've already had a plan of action. June is our family values month. And we'll be mobilizing through the month of June, targeting peaceful demonstrations by July. And so letters are beginning to move out.
You're going to go on peaceful demonstrations?
Yes.
On this anti-LGBTQ
yes.
To do what exactly? What do you want to achieve with that demonstration?
Well, two things. There's a call on the Chief Justice to expedite action on making sure that the ruling, the decisions that have to be taken are taken. And so the month of June will be spent mobilizing people. Note that this is a very historic issue. I mean, across political lines, across religious lines, across ethnic lines, Ghanaians are, as it were, united in a position that says that this is a no. And we don't think that this is something that anybody in government should take lightly. You can't sweep it under the carpet. And so the position is that, well, we have the month of May entering June, we'll be mobilizing. And by July, we'll be out there assuming, and by the way, it was good noting that the legal vacation begins at the end of July. And so really we have between now and the end of July to ensure that those who must take note that the people of Ghana have a position, and let's not decide that we can ignore what the sentiments on this issue are and do business as usual. This cannot be a business as usual case. So we're looking up to her leadership to ensure that, in spite of the fact that they've said this has been, what's the word they use? Indefinitely adjourned, that there's effort made to have a decision on this issue so that the people of this country can have their position on this issue of LGBTQI advocacy and attempts, as it were, to corrupt our morals and our societal standards dealt with properly in a law that reflects what we think is the right thing for citizens of this nation.
You know, this matter has both, not just both, it goes beyond just religious and legal. It extends into the political, as we have seen, and then the social, aspects of it as well. So there are 4 angles you can look at this anti-LGBTQ plus bill. Sam Okudzeto, who is a renowned lawyer and also a member of the Council of State, had this to say about the religious angle. It says you, the advocates for Christ, for instance, those who are supporting this bill, why are you focusing only on LGBTQ? Is that the only sin in the Bible? Take a look at this.
I think he misses the point.
No, let's listen to him.
Where is he?
Is that my business? Is that my business what they do in their bedroom? How does that affect the economy? How does that put food out of my mouth? Does that affect my education? So I have a different view altogether.
So this bill is useless?
I think the whole concept to me, it is completely out of the issue because we have preoccupied, we even tried to induce the churches. They're all running around, sign the LGBT. I wanted to ask them a simple question, and you help me there. I will ask them, all the sins which are listed in the Bible, what have they been doing about it? The LGBT is the only one they've seen. We talk about corruption also. And corruption, I will tell you what, from the messenger to the top, every one of us is involved.
So when you say the whole concept, what exactly do you mean?
What do I mean? What I'm trying to say is that we have so much obsessed ourselves with this question about LGBT. We thought nothing else matters. It was as if, as I told one big Osofo, it's as if war has been waged against Ghana. And so all of us must mobilize ourselves to defend ourselves.
But the president has a choice to sign.
No, please, I'm not concerned. That's the president's business, not my business. That is the president's business. You can't even ask me that
Yes,
question.
but no.
In the position in which I occupy, don't ask me. But I'm just telling you my personal view. I am telling you my personal view on this whole issue. As soon as they raise it like that, I ask myself, I say, the problem which are rising, you walk around, you see the young children running around the street. They have not gone to school. When in the early 60s, there were laws to say that compulsory education, that every child must go to school. We see them running around, begging, nothing. You see people living in filthy areas. Sometimes, what's his name, a container where a whole family is sleeping. We don't look at that and say that these are things which are wrong in our country. What do we do about it? And then we are preoccupied about someone, a man sleeping with a man or a woman sleeping with a woman, as being a national issue for which all of us are in arms.
So
this is what I am saying.
Yes, so the question I was asking was, and of course you are not the president like you said, you're not the one to sign.
No,
But you've been a member of parliament before.
I have been.
So why would an...
Well, so that's Sam Okudzeto, renowned lawyer, a member of the Council of State. In that exclusive interview my colleague Beatrice Edu had with him during the week. So essential point is, that, why are we wasting our time on this? There's so many sins, even from the religious, and he says you advocates for Christ. There are so many sins in the Bible. Why are you focusing on LGBTQ?
Can I?
Yes, all of you will have it.
So let me go back historically. 31st January 2021.
Okay.
Alex Kofi Donko and his compatriots opened the LGBTQI Rights Resource Center in Tesano. And they had 2 ambassadors, foreign ambassadors, join them there. And they said that they were here to promote and advocate for LGBTQI rights and practices in the country. And we were shocked. Where we find ourselves today is essentially on the back of the work of Alex Kofi Donko telling us that our children and all Ghanaians were going to be sensitized and educated on such practices, and they were going to become the norm. It is on the back of that that Parliament raised an uproar, civil society raised an uproar, religious leaders responded, and that is where these parliamentary people then decided, look, let's take this up and have a look. It did not come in a vacuum. So perhaps we've forgotten the history. If Uncle Sam has forgotten, please, somebody should remind him. This is not start because Ghanaians have not lived for years peacefully with this group of people. No. It was because suddenly we're being told that, no, now we're going to advocate for this. Add that to the San Francisco men's choir who started singing, we are coming after your children, whether you like it or not. They're going to, have you seen that clip? Oh, I should share it for you. You know, so all of a sudden, it was...
Whether we like it or not.
Whether we like it or not.
It's coming after.
And that was the context.
But is Mr. Okudzeto aware of this? Of this music?
It's in a different way.
Is he aware that, yes, we don't care about whatever happens in people's bedroom, but don't promote it to include other people's children.
That's the point.
What is he talking about? I mean, please,
I think the Supreme Court would finish
they
what
they have lived.
I mean, I think the flag bearer of the party.
Okay, no, hold on. No, you come. Let's Professor Gyampo just conclude on that point.
So my point is, you see, true, we what other people do in the closet of their bedroom is their business. But this whole idea of trying to say that, well, let us move beyond our bedroom and then let us go into schools and promote it and let us tell other people's children to be doing same. You see, nauseates me, it offends me. And for us to have a very senior, respectable, eminent statesman like Mr. Sam Okudzeto, a member of the Council of States, who is supposed to be an epitome of our culture, our values, our belief system, publicly saying some of these things. Maybe I just want to be charitable, but maybe 10 help me to describe.
All right.
Maybe with the greatest of respect, I think.
Right, no, don't take the learned lawyer out of context.
No,
Don't
I
take
wouldn't.
him out
But
of
maybe he
context.
doesn't have a full appreciation
Don't take him out
of the situation. Okay, so Mr. Okudzeto, I think that if people would want to do things in their bedroom, it's up to them. But the idea of now telling us that let's go public and singing publicly that now we are coming after your children. We don't care whether they like it or they don't like it. We don't care whether you like it. We are now going to socialize them into accepting it. I think it is not in line or in sync with our beliefs, our essence, our being, our cultural values, and all that. No nation develops without its culture. If you come to Ghana, our cultural values frown upon them. And that's the reason why you have a preponderant majority of Ghanaians saying that. I mean, look, you can look at you do not even have to be a soothsayer. You don't have to do any research, but you can just gauge the mood of Ghanaians. It will tell you that they don't like it. And so if I see people like this wanting to join the president in swimming against the tide, I get a bit surprised and sad. Respectfully, I think that they are our eminent people. We look at them for counsel and advice. But this one, I think his utterances on this particular issue wasn't helpful. I have a lot of respect for him, so I want to be charitable. But you see, if you look at we don't have time, I would have taken us through the stages of democratic progressions in every society that wants to be democratic and the kind of human rights that are enjoyed at every stage of democratic progression. Ghana is just a transitional or an electoral democracy. This particular right is not part of a country that is only an electoral democracy or a transitional democracy. What we know in a transitional democracy is an undeveloped or underdeveloped political rights.
Okay.
That is what we know. But other ECOSOC, I'm talking about economic, social, and cultural rights, are so much underdeveloped. So if you want to talk about the rights of LGBT and the fact that they should be allowed to go out in the open to fester their ideas and indoctrinate other people's children, whether they like it or not, and we should all sit down and watch. I mean, the idea itself is repulsive, and we cannot support that. And so, Mr. Okudzeto, I think with the greatest of respect to you, this one, you goofed.
Okay, well, thank you. That's your thought. No, Palgrave.
Okay,
Just,
so
I want to round up on this.
I think that the whole issue is not about the non-decision to sign or to assent it into law. I think that the whole conversation is to ensure that the proper legal processes are followed. And I think that's the context. Because even for us as a new patriotic party, our flag bearer, the Vice President of the Republic, Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has clearly stated his stance that he's against it. His values are against it. His religious beliefs are against it.
The president to sign.
He's clearly said that, and I think that a sizable part of the Ghanaian people are also against it. I am also against it.
Then please tell your president.
It's our president, not mine. Yours as well.
You are closer. You are closer.
Okay, no, please.
Oh, but it's our collective.
Okay, on this, gentlemen.
We want
Now that it is my president.
Yes,
Thank you. Gentlemen, let Palgrave, you still have your time. Speak. Palgrave.
You know, I think that the main thing is to ensure that we exhaust all the legal processes. And if this takes a year, 2, 3, or 4, or 5, the Ghanaian people do not want it.
We are not waiting for a year.
I think that is very clear.
No.
I think it's very clear that the Ghanaian people do not want it. The religious bodies do not want it. The clerics do not want it. The civil society organizations do not want it. The people's representation in parliament do not want it.
But stop fostering the idea that it could take a year or
No,
and we are
no,
not accepting that.
I'm
Because
not-
it is an election year issue.
I'm only
Don't
stating.
first start.
December 7th. Is it 7th? December 7th.
I'm only stating. I'm only stating very clearly that we should allow state institutions to do what they need to do, because
But
this would be a case in
must not
reference.
stampede
December
the will of the
case in
people.
reference.
Will be fought
This
and
would
lost.
be a case
They
in
can't.
reference.
They can't stampede the will of the people. No.
Would be this
The
would-
fortunes of the
this
MPP
would be
will
a
rise
case-
and fall
This
on the
would
back of this. Trust me.
This would be a case in reference.
If you're not sure, send that message out.
This would be a case in reference.
Don't mind him.
For future people.
Don't mind him.
To reference, I won't. This would be a case in reference for future generations. I am stating that let's allow the state institutions to do their work. The judiciary should be given the free time to be able to finish the processes.
Wow.
When they finish the processes and it gets back to Parliament, and Parliament sends it to the seat of government, which is the president will do what is legally binding to be able to do. And if the president
Alfred.
so feels that there are some things that needs to be sent back to the floor of the House, that will be sent to the floor of the House. So my statement is very
There should be
clear.
a balance of power. The judiciary must not try to accept a certain...
In concluding, my statement is very simple. Let's allow the judiciary to complete their processes, because they are also part of the entire arms of government. Allow them to finish their processes, and then we'll continue from there.
We'll be watching and we'll be reminding them that indefinite
Mr. Adams,
adjournment
the
is not
reason
adjournment in perpetuity.
why we discuss this matter and look at it the way we do, and I reference the president's earlier interview on Al Jazeera. It is bound to happen interview. That was a dangerous one. Then now, having gone through all the processes, the president was the first to announce a court action that he's become aware that a Ghanaian has gone to court. And at the time he
had
did
not
so,
been filed.
they have not filed
They have
this
not been
matter.
filed.
So how a president who doesn't know about Dumso's schedule, who doesn't know whether a Dumso happened the day before when he is speaking, got to know what was happening in somebody's chambers? The case have not been filed in the court, but our president knew and announced ahead of time. One of our professors, Professor Menu, who has also been pushing against the passage of this bill, told us that they met the president and the advice is that they should proceed to court. So if the president now comes to tell us all the things he's telling us, then it sounds like they are in some kind of agreement to delay all these processes. But the president should know. And what many of us expected was that the Supreme Court had earlier ruled that they would not interfere with the processes of passing a law. And passing a law ends with the president signing. We don't interpret bills. The whole thing is still a bill. It is not yet a law. And that was why many of us thought that the president, if he so decides that for this occasion he's not signing because he's heard somebody has gone to court or later the person went to court, return the bill to Parliament with stated reasons that I am not signing because somebody is in court. Parliament now can invoke the constitutional provisions where it says when the president decides not to sign a bill and state his reason, Parliament can marshal 2/3, which is 183 members, and they can repass the bill. When that happens, the president cannot refuse to sign such a bill. I thought that a neater process, but he knows when he does that, it will come back to Parliament and we'll get the 183 and we will pass it. So let's use delay tactics. And that is why the judiciary must not play into the arms and strategy of government to delay this process. They must determine this matter with immediacy and let the processes run through. It is unfair, it's not right. But I must commend Mr. Speaker. Look, I think if we had any other speaker, these things would have seen still birthed. I must commend Mr. Speaker and even his deputies. All of them rallied round these processes. Anytime any one of them was presiding and we have to determine this matter, they made sure we did the right thing all through the processes. And I'll commend the promoters also, those who promoted the bill, and its support from what? Outside. The kind of resources they shared. It has helped us to bring these processes to this point. Not the one Palgrave was trying to reference. That was what was introduced, but it's been made neater and neater, and that is what we passed.
Right.
And Mr. Speaker must strongly be commended for his support of all these processes.
Thank you very much. Kofi Adams and Adam Senano, you are saying that for what you are doing, you're going to make this issue an integral part of this election.
Absolutely.
It is already
30 seconds,
made.
In a minute on this, and why you think that the fortunes of whoever wins or loses this election will be hinged on this.
Unfortunately, because of how they are behaving.
I have to move on. Yes.
No, absolutely. I mean, you can't have a situation where over 93% of Ghanaians strongly have a position on the matter. That has gone through the course of Parliament 3 years, was unanimously passed. The date was even interesting, 28 February, and you know what 28 February stands for. I mean, this is the oppressive forces of the West. And that was very significant. It seems to have been lost in the discussion. And then suddenly, before it could even get to the presidency, this has never happened in the history of this country. A bill has been forwarded to the presidency. Before it gets there, they say we are aware of a court case, which has not even been filed.
Okay.
So as far as we are concerned, this is a political issue. It has implications for all of us. The party in power must recognize that those of us who are watching them will be voting as and how they support or do not support the passage of this bill. The idea that we will go through December 7th and it will not have been assented to by the president is not something that those of us who are supporting this bill are willing to accept. And so, just to put it there, my vote will count on this bill. And many of us who are mobilizing for June, July into August are going to make sure that we keep this on the front burner. Okay. Please give notice to our president and also to the Chief Justice. Thank you.
Adam Senano, thank you very much. Gentlemen, unfortunately, I've got to move. If you
after the 7th of December, the president still is president of the Republic of Ghana.
Gentlemen.
That will
the flag bearer has stated a position.
The flag bearers will tell him to sign. Dr. Baumian should tell him to sign. We are not asking for religious views.
It's not a political matter.
We are not asking for Dr. Baumian's religious views. We will ask the chief imam religious views. He should tell the president to sign.
Kofi Adams.
Yes. I'm saying that we will tell the president.
You are done. Thank you. Everybody is done. Respectfully. Thank you.
Is the host now?
Everybody's done. Everybody's done. Let's move on. We're going to go for a quick break. When we are back, this week, the Economic and Organized Crime Office restated their position on this Sisira Dapa matter. They say that, well, it's not as though they are not interested. They have finished their case. They are moving on. And they're going to, as at the time Mameyatu Adudankwa was speaking, she was going to return the docket of Sisira Dapa to the OSP. The OSP's Director of Research, Samid Akon, spoke the next day indicating that, they have the docket already. Yoko has brought it. Then, the evening of that day, there was a statement from Yoko that indeed they returned the docket 3 days before Mameyatu Adudankwa spoke that they were going to return the docket. So, in the midst of all this, the issue is about this unnecessary turf war that we find Yoko, OSP, Attorney General involved in, when the fundamental issue, the most important issue at hand, has been relegated. The source of these monies found in there. Well, Sam Okudzeto again has a take on this. He says that, look, there's no law.
Alfred, you know they are the lawyers.
There's no law. Yes, there's no law anybody keeping money in their homes.
Uncle Sam, he should rest.
Or against people keeping money in their homes. But Cecilia Dapa is not the only one who has $1 million in their homes. We should stop the hypocrisy and face the fact. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. This matter has a lot in there. Stay with us. We'll be back.